There's a lot of great trail cameras out there. I've run the Tacticams, and that's a great system, especially their cell cameras. I've run a lot of different brands that I've recommended to you guys in the past, but the right fit at the right time is the Spypoint trail cameras. I have a couple of the Flex G36s that are cell cams. They do a really good job for keeping track of everything that's going on my property. And I also have for, kind of out in the backcountry, I've got these Force Pros. Man, the picture quality on those Force Pros is just amazing. If you guys saw some of the bear pictures I was showing you during Spring Bear, that was a Force Pro. Really great cameras. I'm really excited that they chose to sponsor the show because I've been using Spypoint for a long time, and I think you guys are going to be just as happy as I am with them. And check them out at spypoint.com and let them know the Western Huntsman sent you. Some of you might be old enough to remember back in the day when you can go to Walmart and get you a Savage rifle for very cheap. And they did a good job, but they weren't equipped for some of the hardcore hunting out there that we do today. If that's a memory that you have with Savage, like I do, I'm telling you, it's not like that anymore. Savage Arms is one of the premier firearms manufacturers dedicated to us hunters. I have this freaking Savage 110. It's the Apex Hunter, and this thing is amazing. I love the AccuTrigger. You can also get them with the AccuFit, which allows you to adjust the stock. So if you're buying them for youth hunters or whatever, or just, rifles fit you different. It's so flexible. It's so perfect for every hunter. It's just not the same Savage that it was 30, 40 years ago. It's a great firearm for everyday use while hunting, and they support hunters and they support this show, and I really appreciate Savage Arms. Check them out anywhere firearms are sold, or go to savagearms.com to find out more. There exists a threat, from anti-hunting groups to politicians trying to give our land away, and we won't stand for it. Those vast western landscapes provide the space for our wildlife to thrive, and a place for hunters and anglers to fuel the fire that sparks their soul. In this show, we share our love of hunting, fishing, and conservation. Here, we provide the foundation to meet these threats through passion and the grit of the American outdoorsman. Welcome to the Western Huntsman Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the Western Huntsman Podcast. This is Jim Huntsman, your host, coming at you from the lonely Broken Tine studio and brought to you by Eastman's Hunting Journals. Guys, thank you for joining me on another episode. A couple of just little announcements. First of all, I want to thank everybody who's been out there writing good reviews for the show, and that really, if you don't do a podcast, you might not know this, but those good reviews, whether it's on Apple Podcast or wherever you can write reviews, some of the platforms don't let you do that. But you probably don't know this, but they're really, really helpful for the show. What that does is when people type in anything hunting wise, it brings up this show a lot more frequently than it would otherwise. And so I really appreciate those of you that have posted some good reviews, and would ask anybody that finds value in this show to go ahead and post a good review for us, because it just really helps the show. It helps our mission, helps us grow. So appreciate that. And the other thing is I'm going to be putting this out on February 6th. And so next week is the Hunt Expo down in Salt Lake. If you guys are going to be there, hit me up. I'll be there. I'll be with the Eastman's group over there in the booth, and kind of roaming around, probably, just trying to rub elbows with as many people as I can. And I'm really excited to meet a lot of you in person, whether they're former guests or just somebody who listens to the show. Definitely hit me up. I'll be looking forward to meeting everybody. It should be a pretty good time. You'll get to see the whole, Eastman's puts together quite the booth, so it's a big deal. So anyway, I have no idea what I'll be doing there other than fleecing the public like I usually do. So all right, so this week on the show, I've got my buddy Ross Sharp. Ross is the owner of the Crazy Elk Company, and he's a friend of mine. He's been on the show before, so he's a return guest, and we have been talking back and forth about some, whether it's just basic, let's talk elk, or let's talk about some of the stuff going on in the state of Washington with that wild and crazy commission you guys have over there. And other things that are going on throughout the hunting community. If you have ever seen the tag wallet, I have one in my pack. Ross is the inventor and maker, creator, or whatever of the tag wallet, and I'll let him explain that a little bit better. But he's just a good guy all around. I'm really happy to have you. So appreciate you joining me, Ross. How's it going, man?
Good. Nice to see you, my friend.
I'm super jealous of your room. We were talking before we hit record, Ross, and I don't know if anybody is watching the video portion of this, but Ross has got these giant bowls on the wall with this beautiful barnwood wall and this corrugated steel like ceiling that he got a heck of a deal on out there and just made it look really cool. It looks way better than the Broken Time studio does, but it gives me inspiration, Ross, because this studio is going to look badass when I'm finished with it.
Sweet. I look forward to seeing it.
Heck yeah. One day, if we want to get real crazy, you're going to have to come see me in Montana here and sit down in the studio for in person. That's what I'm waiting for. I can't wait to get like live guests again.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, tell us what the Crazy Elk Company is, and tell us a little bit about the tag wallet. We'll just kind of roll from there, brother.
So the Crazy Elk Company was just something that I started to actually get out my idea of the tag wallet, which was my first idea. We're going on 3 years now of me selling the tag wallet, and how that came to be was when I got an elk down. I got checked as I was dressing the animal by a game warden. I had to untape my tag, showed him, and then put it back on, and it didn't stick very well, so I had to use more tape. And then as me and my buddies just hiked the 4 miles back to the truck, another game warden was there, and he wanted to see my tag. And I was like, well, I just showed your other guy. And he's like, well, I need to see it. So I had to untape it again. And that basically got the process of me thinking there's got to be an easier way. And
Yeah.
so the product I have now is like version 4.0. And I don't know how I can make it any better. But it's just a ripstop nylon pouch. It's almost like the size of a coin purse. It's like 4 inches by 4 inches. Has some tabs on the side that the tag wallet comes with reusable zip ties, and they go through those tabs. So there's 2 different sizes zip ties, a smaller pair 6-inch, and then a bigger pair for 8-inch. So if you got, and you can actually use them together too if you got something really big. But they'll go around antlers, they'll go around leg quarters, whatever you need them to go to. And then if you ever get checked, all you got to do is unzip that little pouch and your tag's inside and show it, and then put it right back in the pouch and zip it, and you're done.
Your website says you're out of stock. You sell out of those bad boys, show season and all?
I've actually sold through my second flight that I've purchased. And I was a little scared because when I was getting low, I went back to the company that was making them. They're just south of me here, about 3 hours in Vancouver, Washington, and put in my order, and was there. They gave me a thumbs up, and I just kind of waited. And 3 weeks later, I got an email. So I thought they were done. It was going to be like my invoice or something. And in the email, they said, unfortunately, we have to increase the price by $2 per unit, and we have to increase the minimum by 1,000.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Seriously?
So, yeah. And so I was, I'm not a huge company, and I'm trying to work on other products. And to go with them, I would have had to have basically just put all my money just on that thing, and then I wouldn't have money to work on my other products. So I started shopping around. Some guys were trying to get me to go overseas. I didn't really want to do that. And then I just went on Instagram and said, "Hey, is there anybody in Washington? I mean, I'll go anywhere, but is there anybody in Washington that is really good at sewing?" And I had quite a few people reach out to me. And ironically, the best resume I got was a lady who lives literally 10 minutes from me. She's
Yeah.
been doing piecework for all kinds of companies since she was 16. And, she's in her 50s.
Hmm.
Uh, and I went and looked at her work. And so we kind of came up with a deal. And now instead of having quotas, I can just order 100 at a time when I need them. And that way I can take my money and finally get some of my other ideas out there.
God, that's awesome. That's a lot better, man. I know that I hate those companies when you're ordering stuff and they have to have these stupid minimums, and it's always like bad timing. I always wanted to like order I don't know, have some hats made for the Western Huntsman or whatever, and like unless you want to pay $20 per hat, you have to order 40 of them or whatever. And I don't know. I'm cheap, man. I don't want to spend that kind of money because it's not like I'm not going to sell that stuff. So
Right.
just give it away. But that gets really pricey. And so, yeah, that tag wallet is what I like about it is it's way, I'm old school, man. I've been having that electric tape or whatever in my pack forever. And I just tape it on the horn, call it a day. But like the tag would get. I don't know about you, but I always tend to be packing stuff out when it's raining,
Right.
and so the tag gets soaked, and then it rips easy, and then you can't
Yep.
tape it back on, and it's
Right.
like just always an issue. And so I really like that you just take those zip ties and go zip zip and stick that tag in there, waterproof, and there you go, all
Yep.
done. And so, yeah, I used it a couple times last year. I didn't take any pictures like I promised you I would. So this coming year,
It's all
uh,
good.
I will definitely take some pictures. So, you went to Utah on that elk hunt? I want to hear about that.
Yeah. So when I was, approaching when I was about 45, I started looking. I was like, I really want to do something for my 50th birthday.
Hmm.
And so I just started looking around at outfitters. And actually, when I started up the Crazy Elk Company, I had an outfitter actually reach out to me. Um, and he kind of, he really liked the tag wallet idea, and he wanted to do some cross promotion. And we worked out a deal where I sent him a bunch of tag wallets so like he could give it to his clients. And then I sent like a bunch of my hats and T-shirts to his guides and stuff. And then it finally hit me. I'm like, well, shoot, I've been talking with this guy in Utah. I said, I wonder what kind of hunts he has down there. So I just reached out to him, and most of Utah for like a big bull is, you got to put in for the draw and all that stuff. But
Yeah,
he actually,
man, it's a lot. It's a
yeah.
lot.
And I was like, well, I want this for my 50th birthday, which is coming up like really soon. And he's like, well, I have an over the counter unit, it's an any bull unit. And I'm like, really? And so I just talked to him. We negotiated a price, and I was talking to a friend about it. And he turns 50 like a month after me. And he's like, well, do you think he'll let me come too? So I called him, and he's like, yeah. So me and my buddy went down there, and it was a hoot. It was hard.
Ah, that would be a hoot.
It was hard, but it was a hoot for
Well, I
sure.
mean, it's elk hunting. What
Right.
this was a rifle season, right?
It was a rifle season. Yeah, it started like October 6th or October 7th, something like that.
Oh, sweet.
And
They're still bugling.
uh well, that was the intention of it. Just before we went there, they had a big snowstorm, and it was kind of warming up a little bit. And actually the whole week we were there, except for the morning, we were in t-shirts. It was pretty warm, but yeah, we hunted at like 11,000 feet. We were 20 miles back in on horses. We saw one person after the first 5 miles, and he was on foot.
Oh wow,
We ran into him like,
cool.
yeah, we ran into him like 10 miles back when we hit the snow line.
What a
And
stud!
well, yeah, a stud, but also like the guy we were with, Braden, he looked at him, and he's like, you're back here by yourself, no horses or anything? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, well, how are you going to get an elk out
Oh,
of
I
here?
was gonna say, man, how's he gonna pack a bull out if
You
he's
know, especially with
by
it was
himself?
forecasted to be the whole week we're there expected to be warm. And he's like, if you get an elk down, he's like, from where you're at right now, he says, you're looking, if you take all the meat you're supposed to take, you're looking at a week's work.
Oh yeah.
And it not being cold, he probably would have lost some of that too.
Oh yeah.
And the guy just like looked at it. He's like, well, I'll worry about that, when it happens. Um, they ended up exchanging their inReach numbers with each other. And a couple days later, he actually is like, yeah, I'm going to go back a couple miles, but if I end up getting a elk down, will you, pack it out for me? And he's
Oh
like, well,
really?
we'll see yeah. He's like, well, we'll see what happens if it,
For a nominal fee.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
But,
crazy.
yeah,
That's just for those of you listening out there, that is not a good policy to be like, 10 miles back by yourself, shoot an elk, and then wonder what to do at that point. You got to figure that shit out before you get out there, folks.
yeah, for sure. Like he had no plan. His plan was, well, I'll deal with it, once I get it.
Yeah. 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 Well, he was giving it hell. At least he was giving it hell. But
Yeah.
yeah, I can't remember. I remember I don't remember if you texted me or if you posted that and I saw that and you're like, oh, this is in Utah.
Yeah.
And then did you send an article over to Todd over
I
at
did.
Eastman's?
I did. I haven't heard anything. Like he reached out to me and said, hey, I'd like to hear the story on this bull. And so I was like, yeah, I can write the story. So it took me, a week or so to come up with everything. And I sent it to him. I haven't heard anything. You know, I think Eastman's is pretty picky about their, they want really, really high quality pictures and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And most of my pictures, unfortunately, are like I have a really nice one here on my wall, but the outfitter asked me not to show background and landscape
Oh,
because
yes,
it
he
would give
has.
away where
I don't
they're at.
blame him. Yeah.
And so I had to crop a bunch of pictures. Then I just kind of had to send him some pictures that didn't have a lot of backdrop. So we'll see if it was good enough to make the cut or not.
I'll bug him next week at the expo and ask him about it. But yeah, I know that's one of the hard parts is a lot of times in for like me, I'm a terrible photographer, man. I don't know what to take a picture of, and I'm just using my iPhone and I finally got a new one. I had this ancient iPhone. And so like the pictures would end up being grainy if you blew them up for a magazine or something. And
Right.
that becomes an issue, obviously. But I don't know, like some of the pictures I get my Eastman's magazine, and I start flipping through it, and I'm like, man, like people are taking professional photographers with them or something. I don't know how they're getting those kind of pictures, and I'm
Yeah,
usually
they do.
solo, and so that's an added level of difficulty for pics, but whatever. I don't know. I have so many animals that like I've killed over the years that I never even took pictures of, man. And like I wish I would have because it'd be cool to like do those like throwback pictures. Here's
Yeah.
this mule deer from whatever year and post that as what do we call them? Grip and grin or whatever. But anyway, yeah, I don't have any of those. But yeah,
I've always
I'll bug Todd.
I've always taken pictures like my room around me. I made I don't know, I guess it's 4.5 feet up high of barnwood all the way around. And at the top, it's a shelf, and I have pictures just of, you know, all my kills, all my friends' kills, or just moments that were special, throughout my whole life. Um, but I didn't start doing that till, probably only 20 years ago. So everything older than 20 years, I don't have anything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I
Yeah.
am, man. I don't have, I mean, it's not even 20, like 10 years ago. When was that? When they first came out with the phones that took the pictures and those were
Right.
just shit, those
Right.
pictures were just, they didn't turn out. Um, I still think I carried one of those. In fact, I probably have a pile of those disposable cameras buried in like a sea bag or something that
Oh
I that I need to develop still. I don't even know if you still can. But
wow. There's companies that you can send into that will do it. Yeah.
oh really? Yeah, that'd be interesting if I found we're about once all the we're in the middle of remodeling this house, I've got had the cabinet guy here today. And I had in fact tonight marks a significant milestone here, Ross. It is like I'm sitting out here in the studio in a t-shirt because the HVAC guy, my HVAC guy, his name, I want to give him a shout out, HVAC Zach with Gilmore Heating and Air, finally got our gas furnace up and running. Because when we bought this house, it had those little electric heaters on the wall, the
Oh, right.
radiant ones. Man,
Yeah.
and my electric bill's been coming in at like $450, $500. These things suck, dude. And when we
Right.
had that negative 22-degree spell come through here, we hit like we hit at one point like negative 33, but mostly it was about 22 below zero for about a week. And like they didn't even do anything to heat the house up. I had all these space heaters going. I had a couple of pipes freeze. But anyway, HVAC Zach's been here, man, and he's put all this in, and he's actually my wife's cousin, and
Mm.
so he's been coming up with his family and putting this HVAC in all weekend. So anyway, the point is it's like nice and toasty in the studio tonight for the first time
All
ever.
right.
I don't have to have
Cool.
this little space heater going, but slowly but surely, we're getting there. So once I got us off track, dude. What was I even
We were talking
driving
about
at?
Utah.
Oh yeah. I that's what I was going to ask you. So you were on an outfitted guided hunt there,
Yep.
and did you guys call that bull in or?
So, going into it when I had the dates that I had, I thought, well, it's still because like in Washington, that would just be like the middle of the muzzleloader season, and they're talking here, really well. And so we kind of thought it'd be the same there. We heard some bugles while, in the middle of the night when we were sleeping. We actually had an elk the first night we slept. We actually had an elk 2 feet from our tent.
Wow.
Um, yeah, it started barking at us and stuff, which was pretty cool. So that got me really excited. Um, but during the day, we heard very few bugles. We had, I guess, that first day we had. It was probably 3 hours after it got light. We
Mm.
saw some bulls that we went after. Um, there was no talking going on at all, and then we ended up not being able to find him. And then all of a sudden, we heard a bugle behind us, about a mile or so, and so we kind of went in that direction. And he was sounding off, so we didn't even call. We just kind of went on an intercept course. And when you're never hunted at 11,000 feet, it is a chore to try to get a quick march to get on an intercept course. Anyway, my buddy, because he's never taken an elk before, and I said, "Hey, you get first shot. You get first opportunity." And so he was ahead of me, and they ran around the corner, and I heard a bugle, and then I heard a shot, and I was like, "Sweet, he got it," but apparently he didn't, because
He,
like I said,
did he
we were,
miss or?
yeah, he missed. Um, he It was an offhand shot. It it was within 100 yards, but he had a hard time. And it was by itself. I mean, the cows were, a ways ahead of it. He was in the back of the herd, um, but there was no worry about hitting anything else. And
Yeah.
he took an offhand shot, but he was breathing so hard, from running up there
What?
to try to.
Wait a minute. Wait. How do you define an offhand shot? What is that? Like shooting
Well,
from the hip or just not
no, no, no.
stabilized with the rifle?
Right. He was standing up with his gun against his shoulder.
Ah,
I
gotcha.
guess.
Okay.
Yeah. So he,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
didn't have he didn't have like a good rest, like a pack or a tree or a bipod or anything, or even kneeling down. He was just standing up because it happened so fast. Because like I guess when they got up there, the cows were already across, like they saw their butts going across the opening, and they knew the bull was in the back. And when he saw it, you know, I I don't know what to say, but he missed. So he was pretty bummed about that. And then in the evening, we went after some other bugles. But every time, like when we were a long ways away, if they would respond. And then we got to one part where we were like 500 yards away and it would respond. And then we didn't talk at all until we got to within a couple hundred yards, maybe 100 yards. And we were in this, pretty thick trees. And we let out a bugle and the world went silent.
Oh
And
no.
that happened. Yeah. And that happened 3 other times. And Braden, he sounds really good. And I told him, I said, maybe we shouldn't bugle anymore. Maybe we should just cow call, because once we get close, they just disappeared.
Yeah.
And my bull, we got it on the second, was it the second or third day? We were going towards, it's actually funny. I had a lot of camera issues when I was there. On the horse ride in, I was carrying my GoPro. It was like snapped on my backpack. And then my SLR was in my cotton carrier on my backpack. Well, when we jumped a creek, my camera came out of the cotton carrier and almost landed in the creek. And then when I got off to get that, somehow none of us saw my GoPro fall off. And then another time, I started using my phone to record some video and some pictures. And my phone, I had that, the Alaskan guide pack. And on the top, there's that
Yeah.
sleeve.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it just fell out. So
Your
like
phone
three
fell
times.
out? Oh
Yeah.
wow.
So like 3 times. And this is when we just met this guy, the guide. And 3 times before we even got to our destination, we had to turn back around to try to find my camera. So I'm sure he was like, what in the world is going on with this guy? So
Let me ask you something
I put
though.
a,
What you say you're going in on horseback? Are you like pretty savvy in the saddle, or is that something that's pretty new for you?
I've been around horses a majority of my life. Yeah.
Yeah, have you? Okay, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
That on that note, that chest harness, uh,
Right.
and I am not. They don't sponsor this show. I wish they would, but as of right now, they don't sponsor this show. But that Kufaru new bino harness that came out with last year,
Yeah.
it's badass because you could stick your phone in this top pouch thing when the flap will fold down, and you can kind of like stick it in front of your binos.
Okay.
And you can actually film everything going on in front of you with your phone.
I'll
And
have
the
to check
harness
that out.
itself, yeah, it's a good one, man. And I don't like you know me, I'm not like a gear junkie, and I'm not a gear whore either. I'm not just gonna whore myself out to somebody that wants to pay me money or something. But it's a I've just chest harnesses, bino harnesses have always been like this issue for me, and I've always been like searching for the right one. I've spent thousands of dollars on these things.
Right.
And finally Kafaru came out with one, man, and I'm just tickled with this thing. It's so freaking cool. But yeah, so okay, you had to keep going back and
Getting my cameras.
getting your
So
cameras, and you found your phone though, because you dropped your
yeah,
phone.
we found everything. And on that first day when we went for our first hike,
At least the horse didn't step on your phone.
right. One time he was close, but yeah, that first day when uh, my friend Brandon and I were going to cut off that elk, my GoPro fell off. It's like a vice clip thing that clips on my pack, and then it has like a bendable arm so you can,
Yeah.
bend it.
Yeah, there's a name for those. I had one with my Tacticam.
Right.
That if I got an elk coming in close, I'd clamp it to the tree branch next to me, and it
Right.
had the wide lens Tacticam, but it burned in that damn truck fire, man.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Anyway, I lost my GoPro that day. And so the second day, I'm like, hey, I want to go look for my GoPro. So we went and looked for my GoPro again. It took us a while. And then by the time I found it, we only had about an hour before it was getting dark. And I said, hey, let's just go up to that point up there. And then from there, we can like see this whole basin. So we ride the horses up there, we get off. And as soon as we crest over the top, right below us, at like 230 yards, is a cow. And I'm like, holy crap. And she was already looking up at us. So I just like, we didn't move. We just stood there. and she eventually got comfortable and she just crossed the opening. And then we saw another animal in front of her, couldn't tell what it was. And I'm like, oh man, I wonder if that was the bull. But then as soon as I thought that, over the ridge, all I saw was this rat just come
Oh,
over the
and that's the
top.
one to your left as we're
Yes,
recording. Yep, yep, yep.
yes. And I was like, oh, I said, bull, and I'm like, give me a range. And so I already had my pack on the ground and I already had my gun down there. So I just dropped to the ground and I got it in my scope and I was waiting for Braden to give me a range. And he was excited. He was having problems getting his rangefinder out of his pouch. And because he was wanting to record me at the same time. And
Yeah.
then he just gave up on recording and he just gave me the yardage. And as soon as it came out, I popped it and it dropped. And that was it.
Sweet. And he's a big. You didn't. I don't know. But I'm not big on scoring, but it's always nice for reference. Do you have any kind of rough score on that bull?
He's like a 315, 320.
That's
He's
okay. Okay. See, I'm
yeah,
pretty good, man. I look at it. I figured probably between 300 and 320 when I saw him.
yeah. And he's only a 5x6, but he's got really long tines and he's really thick and
Real thick. Yeah.
and he's really wide.
Beautiful bull, man.
Silencer Central. Folks, if you want to learn something new right alongside me, check it out at silencercentral.com. I've never put a suppressor on any of my weapons, but I'm going to start now, and I'm using Silencer Central to help get me started because they walk you through the whole process. To include, you can ship the rifle to them, they'll thread it, they'll put it on, and they will ship it back, and you can make payments on the whole thing while you wait for all the licensing to get approved, which they take care of for you. It's a great process, and it's a great company, American manufacturer, right there in South Dakota, and we are really excited to be partnering with them. So check it out at silencercentral.com or give them a call at 888-781-8778 and let them know that you heard it on the Western Huntsman. Hoffman Boots is my go-to boot. I love the Explorers in the 8-inch, and they've got the Vibram sole, totally waterproof, no break-in period. They just glue your feet to the mountain. You can't ask for more out of a boot, and you don't have to break the bank to get a pair. So check it out at hoffmanboots.com. Again, another American company. Local North Idaho friend of mine who runs this company decided to make some great hunting boots for all people that are serious about getting into the backcountry to chase elk and deer and bear and everything else out there. So check it out at hoffmanboots.com. Use promo code all caps lock Huntsman10 at checkout to save you 10%.
But
it's a beautiful bull. I love, as we got talking about this, I remember you and I were texting and I was kind of asking you, narrowing down, because I know Utah really well, it's where I grew up. And now I remember, I know exactly where you're at. It's a great area. Obviously I'm not going to say it on the show, but I've always wanted to get that far back up there. And when I lived there, I had horses. But I always went, all I'll say is I went south and similar elevations, but there's something about that country you were in on that particular range that was just for like in my mind, it was like this forbidden fruit or something. I didn't want to go in there. I don't know. It's so hard to explain, but I did kill a nice mule deer up there. That I wanted to talk about, go back to your buddy's shot offhand. Did he get a bull on that trip or?
No, he did not.
Oh man, that poor guy.
He actually, so on the third day, or no, maybe it was the fourth day. So I already had my bull and we went hunting, together a few times. I was just going around as a cameraman because I'm going to make a little film out of this. And, we saw some cows and we heard some bulls, but we never really had any opportunities. And then one evening, Braden just got a hair up his ass and he's like, hey, let's get on the horses. We're going to ride over to that other basin. Ross is going to sit here in glass. And, and if he sees anything, he could reach us on the inReach. Well, they were gone, for I don't know, 6 hours or so, and then they were coming back, and I did see some bulls, but from where they were to where the bulls were, they wouldn't have got there by dark.
Dark kind of
So
thing. Yeah.
yeah, so I just figured I'd tell them when we got home we could make a plan for the morning. But as soon as they got back to camp, we're talking like last 10 minutes of shooting light left. I come over to meet them with the horses, and Braden looks up and he's like, elk. And I turn around and there's 3 cows and a bull crossing 180 yards right by our camp. So Brandon gets off and he's over to my side, and I'm sitting there recording, and the cows kind of left and the bull's just standing there. But from the angle he's at, he couldn't see the bull because of these trees. So I told him, I said, get over here. I got a straight path. And as soon as he got to me, it turned. So it was just his ass looking at us, and it walked away probably another 20 yards. And then it turned. But when it turned, he had a really narrow window, and he missed again, unfortunately.
Was he offhand again, or was he down?
No, this time he was down. He was prone. He was down on his knee.
Gotcha.
But he missed again, and he was pretty distraught. Plus, this was his first time ever on horses, which he did not like. And this was his first.
Some people don't, man.
Yeah, and this was his first time at above 10,000 feet, and he struggled. Like, he hardly ate anything the whole time we were there. He drank a lot, but he was having a lot of issues. And a day later, we still had like 2 days left to hunt. He just said, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. And so,
but he had a good time. It's interesting with that offhand shot, man, when you don't have anything to stabilize that rifle with a scope. That's way harder for me than like I can offhand shoot. I have this little 30-30 Winchester, the Model 94 there, and it's open sight. And I can offhand shoot that thing all day and hit a gnat's ass from whatever. Not super far. That kind of rifle doesn't have that kind of range anyway, but man, you put a scope. I go out with one of my, like my Savage or whatever. I go out with that bad boy with the scope. I can't offhand shoot anything, and it just gets so shaky. But it's that's I don't know. That's always been a constant thing. I could hit running jackrabbits with that Model 94 open sights. But man, you put an elk at 250 yards with a rifle, and I don't even know what that looks like, because I mostly bow hunt for elk. But now I got an opportunity with the new place we live. It's I've got a lot more opportunity. If I don't tag out during archery season, I've got a pretty good, pretty solid elk season. Rifle season. But how come you were able to trade that for some product basically and go with an outfitter, huh?
Well, no, I mean, I paid some money too.
Because and it depends on where you're at. I'm just always curious, because all my friends, Ross, they always tell me the same story. They're like, oh yeah, this outfitter hit me up and we worked out a deal. How come none of you outfitters out there listening ever reach out to Jim at thewesternhuntsman.com to work out some kind of deal? Like, come on. This podcast is ranked number 26 in the wilderness sector of Apple Podcasts. And that's a big deal, because I'm competing against like freaking birdwatcher podcasts and canoe kayakers and, anything outside. It's not just hunting. And so
when I say deal, I don't mean like I didn't steal this hunt. I mean, I still paid a pretty good penny, but I didn't pay absolute full price either. But
yeah, I'd have to pay full price. I got nothing to offer an outfitter other than like advertising or something, but I'd love to just try it, because I fly fished for years and was terrible at fly fishing until I went with this. I basically won a trip. I'd met some goals with a company. I worked for, and they asked me what I wanted to do. You know, they're like, oh, we could send you to Hawaii with your family, or you can go on a fly fishing trip. Well, guess what I chose? I chose a fly fishing trip.
Right.
Right. So I went on this, and this fishing guide, man, he changed my life with fly fishing. I don't ever get skunked on a river anymore with a fly rod, and I love it. And so I've always wondered, because I've never been on like a real guided hunt. I've always wondered, like, if I go out with somebody who, you know, you could say these guys do this for a living, right?
Right.
The things that they could teach you. And I'm a pretty good hunter, but I'm not like a professional hunter, you know, and so I think people misconstrue my level of expertise because I have a hunting podcast, but my podcast is more focused on, you know, dealing with like your Washington Commission over there, Ross. Yeah, you know, stuff like that. So I'm like your most experienced, worst hunter you'll ever meet in your life. So I figured it would be great for me to go. Like, I don't have a wall of antlers like you do behind you. You know, and for those of you just listening, like, he's got this barnwood wall, and there's all these big bull elk on it, and I couldn't do that. I don't have those kind of stats. And so I've always like kind of had it in my mind that someday, and I'll pay for it, but I'd love to go on some kind of guided hunt with somebody that has a lot of experience, because I cherish the information I learned from that fly fisherman. And I'm a DIY kind of OTC kind of guy, right? And so this
Right.
is not like I'm changing my thing. I'd love to spend a few days in the woods with a guide like that.
Yeah,
That's
this
it.
was the first time I ever did a guided elk hunt. So it was,
Yeah.
you know, it was. I learned a couple things. But yeah, especially on the horse front, I learned some things I never knew. But other than that, it was
So
it was
now
just a good
now
time
are
to be.
you
Go ahead.
are you like mapping out your backyard for the horse corrals and getting ready to
My wife would never go for that. I I used to have a really plush, grassy, awesome looking, like my yard looked like a park.
Mhm.
But now I own a GSP, a German short-haired
Oh
pointer.
yeah. Nice trails
It
all over.
it, it is, yes. I don't
Man, they're
have
busy
very
dogs. They're
I don't have
busy
much
dogs.
grass in it.
Well,
I actually
you're not missing
contemplated.
much.
I actually told the wife the other day. I said maybe we should just artificially turf this whole thing. We'll see.
Yeah. No kidding, man. No, the dog will screw that up too.
Yeah.
It's a GSP. Yeah, that's you're not missing much, man. I had horses. I did for a long time. I had horses, and man, they're expensive. Like, they're more expensive than my kids. I feel
Yeah.
like, and
Yep.
I didn't like. I liked the access they would give me, you know,
Right.
to some of the back country and all that, but I didn't like the year round constant work and maintenance and mucking stalls and feeding and all this stuff, and, you know, having one colic in the middle of the night, and you know, that just wasn't my thing.
Yeah. I dated a girl who was heavy into horses, and after her, I said I will never date another. Someone who's that much into horses. It is more time than kids, and it's way more money than kids.
And I think that you know, you have to be passionate about the animal itself. And
Right.
where I love horses, I love animals, and I love pets. And if it were up to me, dude, I'd have like probably 10 dogs, you know. But I love that aspect of it. But you have to have like a deeper passion for the animal and the things that you can do with the animal. I had only a couple things I wanted to do on a horse. I wanted to access better country for hunting, and I wanted to do like just some basic trail riding around like my family, my dad's ranch, and stuff like that. I like to go out and shoot coyotes on a horseback because it was fun.
Yeah. Right.
But like, I didn't have, you know, I have buddies, they're way into like cutting horses. If you know what a cutter is, you know, where they're
Oh, yeah.
kind of and they're freaking crazy horses. They're awesome to watch. Some people, I've got buddies that are big into rodeo. They'll do like team roping. which is a lot of fun for me to watch. I don't want to do it. I don't want to go to the or I don't want to be in a rodeo. I like to go, sit in the stands and drink Coors Light or whatever. And and so I think that's what it is with horses. You have to have kind of a deeper passion for what the animal is capable of to want to have them and take care of them and have that expense. Because how long did I have them? I mean, it was years, and I just realized like it's not what I'm passionate about, and that horse deserved better, kind of thing.
Right.
So anyway, I love my horse, but man, he was an asshole sometimes.
I've heard that.
They do. He's kind of a jerk. You know what you need to get, dude? I've talked about those tack cams in the past. You were talking about so that little clamp on thing.
Right.
I would put that in like the side pouch on my pack, right? And so I could just grab it real fast and clamp it on a tree branch. And then the other one I had either like strapped to my shoulder strap on my pack. Right. But you can also take that, and it comes with a little bit of or it comes with a little attachment that allows you to put it on your bow. And so it's basically filming your shot. Or with the rifle, it has something called an FCS or something like that, film through scope, FTS. So that attaches to your scope, and it films that way without, messing with what you're seeing through the scope. So it films the shot. And so the point with that, which, by the way, you can't do that in Idaho. They're real primitive with, like, especially with your bows. You can't have electronic equipment on your weapons. But the cool part with that is what you were saying with, you had your camera over here in the cotton bag, and then your other one, attached to you somewhere, and you guys were trying to get them out. But if you have those tact cams and you set them up the way I just kind of explained it, it comes with this little remote control, and you wear it around your neck. And so, like, what I would do, I'd be out in the woods. I'd get this big bull screaming at me. Well, they're all big in my mind. A bull screaming back at me, and I could hear him coming. Freaking twigs are crashing. He's screaming at me. And what I do is that remote control, you hit one button on it, and both your cameras turn on and start filming. And so you could like clamp one to a tree, which is the wide lens, and gets that overall shot. And then you can walk like, 50 yards in front of that, and it'll still pick you up.
That's cool.
And then I had the other one I always had when I'm hunting Idaho. I strap it to my pack strap, right? And so it's getting everything my shoulder, basically it follows my head in a sense.
Right.
And it has a head mount, but it gets heavy if you're going in 5, 6, 7 miles. It gets old wearing it. But the point is you turn them on with the click of a quick button, and all of a sudden you're getting multiple perspectives and able to film all that, and it's actually really good footage. And so, anyway, they used to sponsor the show. They don't anymore, but so I've got all those, but all my whole setup burned in that fire, so I had to replace it all. I haven't even set it up yet.
Huh? I'll have to check into them.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So, all right, we've been yakking and haven't even talked about this, how to win a hunt for this money. Tell us what you're doing. You're trying to raise money for Sportsman's Alliance, which is a great cause, and I appreciate that. Give us an overview.
Being a resident here in Washington and a lifetime hunter here in Washington, as you've had other people on your show before, we have this commission that has appointed. They've been appointed by our governor, and in my opinion, they were put there as a favor by people who have money in his pockets, and that's my assessment of the situation. And they are anti-hunting. They are not hunter friendly at all. And we've already lost the spring bear season. They're already talking about eliminating bear hunting altogether and cougar hunting. But right now, like this year, they're trying to push the seasons back to a point past deer and elk seasons of all weapons, because they don't want opportunistic kills, which 90% of all the bear and cougar, well, maybe not for bear, but at least for cougar, 90% of them come during an elk and rifle season of some sort. So basically they're just trying to, let cats run wild. And so we have all these issues, and the only way to fight these issues is with money. And Sportsman's Alliance, they're a good group to give your money to, because there are some plans in the works. They're just waiting for some things to fall before they can actually file suit. And so, as a small company, I just said, what can I do besides always talking about it? What can I do to help raise funds for Sportsman's Alliance so they can actually step forward and fight for us hunters? And I'm friends with Simong Yang, who, if you don't know him, he's a big YouTuber in Washington here. He's got a pretty good following. He's a really good guy. He's a really good hunter. He's super humble. He deserves everything he gets, and he knows the situation. And I said, hey, what if we, or if I put it all together, would you be willing to like offer? I don't want to do like a deer hunt or an elk hunt, because a lot of that we do, he's worked hard for those areas that he's learned, and I don't want to take somebody into that area only to have them come back the next year, and ruin his place.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna secure some private property, and we're gonna do a turkey hunt. And he's like, yep, I'm all for it. And so that was the main thing, because he's the draw. And I reached out to some other people I know, Jason Phelps, and I don't know if you know Joel Schwecker from Black River Taxidermy, Andy
Of
Elliott.
course I know Joel Swecker.
Okay, all right. And
He's been on the show.
so
he's one of my top 2 favorite taxidermists, by the way.
Oh, he's really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so I researched into how I can do this, fundraiser. I at first thought, I'll sell some raffle tickets or whatever, but because my company is a for-profit company, I can't really do that. So I just created.
What do you mean? Because you're a for-profit company, you can't what? You can't raise money for a nonprofit? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I can't do you can't do a raffle.
Why?
You have to be a nonprofit. I don't know. That's just the law.
Is that a Washington thing, or is that like a national thing?
I'm fairly sure it's national. Like,
who says that? Like, who? See, I'm not trying to rabbit trail this thing to death, but who the fuck came up with that idea? Like, we're not a free country. We can't just have a raffle if we own a company. Like, who? What? I've never even heard.
Yeah, there's laws for raffles. You have to apply for a license first, but if you're a for-profit company, they don't. Even though I'm not keeping any of the money, besides the cost of the shirt, every single dime is going to Sportsman's Alliance. And when I was talking to Brian Lynn of Sportsman's Alliance about it, he says, you might want to look at this as a little different, maybe call somebody. He says, but I don't think with the way my company is set up that I can do that. So I'm doing what's called a game of chance. And so I'm selling a product. It's a t-shirt. John Gabriel designed it. And when you go to my site and buy that t-shirt, it gives you 5 entries. And the reason I did 5 entries for the t-shirt is because of the laws, I have to offer a free entry. Like if somebody doesn't want to pay the money, but they still want to enter the contest. So those people will get 1 point. And to make sure the people who are actually contributing money, I'm offering them greater chances to win, which actually we're going to announce something here either later this week or the beginning of next week, to increase people's chances even more. But yeah, so I'm selling this shirt. It gives you a chance to win a hunt with Simong Yang. And also Andy Elliott of Elliott Outdoors donated a Savage 410 shotgun.
Stud.
Joel at Black River Taxidermy he's offering a free fan mount. P and Wild is offering their Tamarack 2.0 knife. Jason Phelps is donated a whole turkey package. Haired Outdoors donated a spice game package. Elusive Outdoors, they make these turkey totes, red, white, and blue turkey totes, so you can carry a turkey out of the woods. They donated that. I had a guy reach out to me, Wild Country Customs. He's donating a custom. He'll work with the guy, whoever wins, to make a custom pot call out of almost any kind of wood. And then because Samong has a friendship with Vortex is donating a binoculars and a product that has not been released yet.
Oh, really? Like,
yeah.
Okay. I won't dig into that one.
Yeah. I don't
it's
know
like a secret thing that it's almost ready for market, but it's not announced yet, kind of thing. Sorry, I got a little hung up on the whole raffle law thing. I was trying to look it up, but I'm having a hard time listening to you and try to research that. But that I'm going to dig into that. That pisses me off if that's a real thing. Yeah. And so what I was going to donate something, wasn't I?
You said you were going to donate some Phelps stuff, but Jason already donated some stuff.
Well, that dirty little dog. I tell you what, I have in my here possession, I have a brand new in the box Spypoint cell cam that I'll throw in the mix as well. So add that to your list, and I'll just after we're recording, text me your address and I'll send that to you. Or is that illegal too in Commie, Washington?
No, I don't. No, it's not illegal.
Okay, I can send it to you. I'm not going to have like the Washington tax commission show up and be like, "Bitch, did you pay taxes on that?" Like,
yeah,
I heard this was a raffle.
No, sure. That's greatly appreciated. I'll make a little announcement about that as well.
Man, if you would have told me we could have done this cool spring bear, I would have donated like 3-4 days on my bait barrel for somebody's spring bear hunting. I'll bait it and sit with them but it has to be in Idaho.
Right.
And so, but that would have totally been an option. I just didn't, I didn't, man. Anyway, it's been a crazy couple of months.
Yeah. You've had a lot going on. And then, a private individual approached me. I was at a fundraiser, for Sportsman's Alliance a couple weeks ago, and an individual approached me and he wants to pay for the license and tags of whoever wins.
Oh, wow. Is that the guy we were talking about before recording?
No.
That's awesome.
Well, I don't think he cares that if I, he didn't say keep this quiet. He just said he didn't want to be entered in the contest, and he didn't want to, be a shirt. But yeah, he gave me, some money to just put towards the cause. So
that's awesome. And everybody would know who that is. I don't know if you're allowed to say his name, but everybody would pretty much know who that is. And it's just cool because, it's not like he's looking to get something out of it. That's when No, yeah. I don't know. I love stuff like that. And I think it's awesome. Let me write this down. I'm going to send you a camera.
I don't think he's going to care. It was Randy Newberg. We just had the Sportsman show here in Western Washington, and I met him last year and talked to him for a bit. And then, I was going to be at the show. I was there actually promoting, one, I was there for awareness. And then two, I was there to promote the giveaway. I was walking, I had some flyers and some posters at some friends' booths to promote the giveaway. And I was just walking around with the sign. One side had a picture of the giveaway, and the other side said, "You can't be mad if you lose it if you don't do anything to keep it."
Yeah, I saw that.
And when people saw that, they approached me and they're like, "Hey, what is this about?" And I didn't even mention the giveaway at first. I just said, "Well, do you know what is going on with our Washington State Commission?" And they're like, "No." And I shit you not, 90% of the people I talked to had no idea that anti-hunters were on the commission, had no idea that we lost the spring bear season 3 years ago. They didn't know anything.
That's
And
crazy.
so I was really happy. I haven't seen like the return in shirts, shirt sales or whatever, but at least I'm bringing awareness, and people hopefully can start paying attention.
That's the thing with you, Ross, is like, you just started this company, the Crazy Elk Company, which you started it at a bad time. We were still like within the pandemic going on really hard.
Right.
We didn't have a bunch of shows going on. Nobody wanted to get, like hunt expos kind of thing. But you're one of those guys that you just want to get involved. You want to do something, whether it's small or big, and you want to turn it into something big. We need more guys like you. We need more people out there that are willing to put their money where their mouth is and actually get this needle moving in the right direction against these anti-hunting organizations and these corrupt commissioners that do things like they've been doing in the state of Washington, and this anti-hunting ideology that is kind of spreading into some of even the politics. By the way, before I forget, I don't know if you can see it. Here's that Spypoint. This is that cell cam, and see nice. Down here on the bottom, I wrote Crazy Elk Company in my really bad handwriting. That way I know, because I have one of these. I'm going to send that one to you, and I've got this other one. I'm supposed to send it to Gabe Hinkle, and I keep forgetting to go down to the post office and mail it. So if you send me your address, I'll go do that like tomorrow or Wednesday and get it over to you.
Cool.
Okay.
I can do that.
So anyway, I don't know what to call it, but I always just kind of call it like grassroots efforts. It's people that you don't necessarily stand to gain anything from this other than having a future as a hunter, and having your kids and your grandkids have a future in hunting, and to enjoy this lifestyle that's under attack, which is odd because, this lifestyle is something that is, we have thousands of years of history. That can't be wrong. This is not something you could define as wrong. I made a joke on a post earlier today, or was that yesterday? Anyway, it was like that whole debate, fixed broadhead versus mechanical broadhead. And I always have the same answer. It's always fixed for me because, 1,000 years of history can't be wrong, right?
Right.
And a lot of people are like, fair point, and blah blah blah. But the thing is I don't care. I don't care if you want to use mechanical. Freaking use mechanical. I'm old and I'm stubborn and I'm set in my ways. I'm going to use fixed, and I'm not going to debate it. But the point I guess I'm making is, it's like the same kind of thing. We're fighting against these people that have this new issue in humanism. It's a new thing, and it's this, when you're only maybe 4, maybe 5 decades of having a problem with a lifestyle and a way of life and a pursuit, whether you consider hunting to be a hobby or a lifestyle, it doesn't matter. That is the human existence. That's what our history is. And so to the other point that you made earlier, that it's going to take money, you couldn't have been more right. That's what we're up against. We're up against organizations that have a lot of money for this, and they're very motivated. They're very willing to give up their time, their treasure, their talents, these things that we talk about, to achieve what their ideological goal is, which is things like getting, eliminating things like black bear hunting in the spring, or, just hunting in general. Doesn't matter what it is, I guess. They have a lot of motivation for this. And as much as I want to say I've had a lot of hope lately, because there's been a lot of hunters are waking up, a lot of outdoorsmen and sportsmen, and the folks are starting to be a little bit more keyed into what these issues are and what we're up against and what they're willing to do and the money they're willing to spend and the time they're willing to put in. I do feel like that has increased, Ross. But I still think that we are getting our asses kicked on the motivation side because we're all focused on getting that fixed or non-fixed or mechanical broadhead or buying the new what is this stuff I've been talking about on this episode? Tacticams and Kafaru vinyl harness, and I love all that stuff. But at some point, we all have to. How did I explain that with my buddy Gabe? Hey, take a bite of the shit sandwich and start putting more money out there, because it really is. This stuff is going to end up in litigation, and it's going to take money to get to that point and be successful in that outcome. And make no mistake, the folks we're up against, they have a lot of it. So, anyways, did I cut you off rudely, or did you?
No, you didn't. You didn't at all. I was just waiting for you to say your point, and I was going to say, everything you said is right. And I think, like you've talked about it, and, other people have talked about it, and I've been, preaching it for a long time. And I think it's starting, things are, starting to work. Like here in Washington, we just had this, a bipartisan bill come up from the Washington Senate for the hunt to
the constitutional right.
Yeah, to be a hunt and fish. Unfortunately it died. I heard it came out of like a small committee, and then it died in the next committee. But I talked to somebody over the weekend, and they say it's probably going to be resurrected next year because they don't want to put it on a ballot of a year of a presidential race, I guess. So we'll see what happens there. Idea. But they're also, and I don't know if you saw my post the other day, the House of Representatives here in Washington, a guy named Wilcox, put forth a bill to abolish our state commission.
I did not see that.
Yeah, it's House Bill 2434, and he basically he wants to go to an appointed director that will oversee the whole department. And I mean, you could look up this bill. It's House Bill 2434. But I highlighted it in my post the other day where it said they have failed to live up to their purpose. They have made decisions contrary to the promises that those have come before them have made. They have ignored the science of their own staff, letting special interest groups dictate the Department of Fish and Wildlife's direction and ignoring their legislative mandates. Now,
powerful stuff.
I don't think
he's not wrong.
Oh yeah, and I don't know if that'll go very far either, but I think it's a shot over the bow of the commission and our governor saying, "Hey, we're paying attention now."
Yeah,
So I think
things are. What I like about it, I think you're right. I don't think that'll go very far, and I don't know that that's the right answer to have one individual in charge, because I feel like that's where you start breeding, being swayed by fundraising and dollar signs and lobbying and things like that. But I've always wondered, like, how do we start thinking outside of the box with this? And I can't, in like Idaho and Montana, complain about our commissions, right? There's really, when you start comparing that to like Washington or California or Colorado or something like that with the commissions, I really can't complain. However, I guess that said, that I always wondered, like, what if only licensed hunters could vote for the commission? Each commission.
Ooh,
you have to be a tag holding licensed hunter, because, and I don't think that'll ever go either, Russ, because we're not the only stakeholders in the wildlife management game.
Right.
But yet we have the most history, and we have the biggest stake. If you're going to call it a stakeholder, we do have the biggest stake in the game, because we do consume these things in nature, right? And I don't mean that in a literal sense. I mean, we're consumptive users. And I know somebody, I don't remember who was talking about how they don't like that term because of this and this and this. But the reality is there is this consumptive side to it. And we take, but while we are taking, we are conserving for future take, right? And so it's kind of like, if we're a stakeholder in a oil company, we're going to take a profit share, whatever, on a quarterly basis, but yet we're still giving to ensure that future earnings is always going to be there. It's kind of the same kind of concept, right?
Right.
And so I've just always wondered if something like that, like, what do you think? Would people go for that? We know non or anti hunters wouldn't go for that, but
I
licensed
actually
tag holders.
So at one of the meetings that we went to, an older guy, he suggested that instead of the commissioners being appointed by the governor, that we should have, we have our regions. I think we have like 6 regions or 7 regions in Washington, and each region should be able to vote for who their governor is or who their commissioner is, which if you were to break up Washington, the 90% Democratic controlled region, there would only be one region. Everybody else is,
it's insanity. It's insanity.
All those other regions would probably appoint somebody who's supposed to be in there. And then you'd have your, Seattle region that would have their Wahoo in there. So when it comes to voting time, it wouldn't be like it is right now where we have, 4 commissioners that are all anti-hunting.
That's a good way to put it. And that's actually a really good point, because you're right, man. In my day job, I have to travel, like you just posted a video of that highway between like Yakima and Ellensburg. I've been on that highway a million times, man. And I'm on that highway quite often. From a standpoint, for this company that I'm still working for, outside of my own company, I'll go estimate great big commercial roofs, and there's like hospitals and schools in Yakima. So that's why I go to Yakima, right? So I'm all over Washington, including the I-5 corridor, that Seattle Tacoma area. And I'm, so I wouldn't say I spent a ton of time. I used to spend a lot more time in Washington, but quite frankly, from a business standpoint, it's a lot more profitable to stay in Idaho and Montana. So anyway, the point is as I travel through Washington, and let's say I'm in Okanagan County, or let's say I'm in Ellensburg, or down by the Tri-Cities, or in Moses Lake, these areas, Clarkston, Washington. I don't feel culturally out of place any differently than I would if I were in Idaho or Montana or Wyoming or somewhere, right?
Right.
It's when I cross that pass and I have to drop down and I have to go look at a big roof, let's say in Tacoma, and they have these weird requirements for these public entities to approve your bid kind of thing. Anyway, that's a whole other podcast. I should do no, I'm not going to do that. But I feel out of place, Ross. Like when sometimes I'll fly into Seattle from Spokane early in the morning. I'll go look at a project, and then I'll go back to the airport and I'll fly home the same day, right? And so there is this weird difference in those areas. And what happens is when you spend that much time on the road, and then you have to spend time in those big urbanized areas such as Seattle, Tacoma, and you see the disparity in not only the culture, but the way of life and the lifestyle, and the compression of humans compacted into these small areas. I can't help but wonder, and I don't want anybody to be upset with me for saying this, but it's just a dude that observes things. I can't help but wonder how much groupthink has taken over in like a city block of Seattle, where they all live in the same apartments and they all work in the same kind of places, similar type areas. and they
Right.
all go visit the same coffee shops, and they all go to the same gas station. And there's just like so many freaking people that they don't know each other. Like
Well, half the times they're on their phone.
they're on their phone, but this cultural groupthink that takes place where it's like, okay, there are more people in one apartment complex in downtown Seattle than the entirety of the town that in northwest Montana where I live. And we're talking hundreds of square miles. What we consider the area where we live, hundreds of square miles. Okay, you could say like you could use Heron, Montana as an example. I think the population is like 210 people or something. Yeah, but they're not talking about the town itself. There's only a few houses and a little store and a marijuana dispensary in this town. That's it. Oh, there's a church. But the area of Heron is pretty big. It's a big area, right? But if you took all those people that lived in that area, what we consider Heron, Montana, it's less than what is in one apartment complex in downtown Seattle. And so I guess what I'm driving at is I can't help but wonder is when you get all those people and they start having these same like political leanings and they're all in the same kind of communal areas. There's not a lot of critical thinking outside of what everybody else considers to be right. And when the masses start considering like these people run around that, and we talked about this, they literally think President Biden is a viable option for another term, right? like really, that's viable to you,
right? A guy who can't even say a word correctly and can't understand him.
He spends his time eating ice cream and snipping children. Like, I'm sorry, like he's not running the country, but whoever is really benefiting from his presidency. And so I just can't help but think that, like, I guess what I'm saying is it bothers me that maybe sometimes with how thick the groupthink gets in places like these big urbanized areas, their votes can outweigh people that because we don't live in such compacted areas, that like maybe we have less of a say because because where I live, I don't have 300 people on top of me or below me or to my left or right. I have a 15-acre plot of land here. I know like one neighbor. We don't really, everybody leaves each other alone unless you like absolutely need something.
Right.
And we all have, it wouldn't be fair of me to say this without saying that, like, we all generally where I live have very similar political leanings. And that's why we live out here. We want to be left alone. We don't really think the government has our best interest at heart, However, the difference is we've all come to that conclusion in a different way than maybe some of these real highly dense populated areas where this groupthink does. And everybody, if you don't know, like, groupthink is when like there's this common theme in belief system, and because you're exposed around these people that have this common belief, that you start believing that too. So this is why like college campuses get really freaking liberal. Like, you can send a perfectly normal kid to college, and then like a year later, they switched genders and started voting for Biden, right? And it's like, what happened?
Right. Yeah.
Where'd my kid go? And so that's what I'm talking. That's what groupthink is, and I think that it happens in these urbanized areas, these real densely populated areas like Tacoma and Seattle. And there's outcasts there that hold out, and they've got to be even stronger and more firm in their beliefs than even I do, because they're so surrounded by the opposite. You know what I mean? And so it's like, I always admire those kind of people. Like the one Republican in the or conservative or libertarian in an apartment complex in downtown Tacoma.
Yeah.
Or San Francisco.
My wife has a good friend of hers. She's dating a guy who if you look at him, he's a pretty boy, doesn't dress outdoorsy at all, but he actually is a hunter and he likes to provide his own meat. You
See,
know,
that's awesome. But
and,
does he?
and he lives in Seattle.
Does like and what I guess that's another thing I'm driving at. Like, do his neighbors know that?
That I don't know. I don't know him all that well, but I do know, like, I started being friends with him on Instagram, and he cooks wild game. Like, if you were to look at a dish, you thought you were eating at a fancy restaurant.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, he cooks it a little different than I do. Let's just say that. You know, but yeah, he's really good. And he loves. I wouldn't say he's like a diehard hunter, you know, like me, but he goes out and he'll get a deer, or he likes going down to Oregon and he'll shoot some wild hogs. He really likes the meat from wild hog.
They have wild hogs in Oregon?
I guess so. Like, there's some
Why
farms.
haven't you and I taken a road trip?
It was the first I heard of it when he was telling me about it.
Hey, that reminds me. I thought you were going to come over to Eastern Washington. We were going to go chase pheasants. Whatever happened to that?
I don't know if that's when I got sick.
Might have been. I don't remember. We were talking, and then we just kind of stopped talking about it. We need to make something like that happen.
Yeah, but, and I got a good dog now.
Yeah, you got the GSP, man. My retriever, both of them, they're freaking worthless now, man. One of them's almost 13 years old, so he's not going. He used to be a great bird dog, upland. You wouldn't think that out of a retriever, but and then we got this new pup, Wyatt. I say new. He's like 2.5 years old now. He's worthless, man, as a bird dog. He ended up being my girl's dog. And all he cares about is being with my girls, my daughters. And I've never taken him out. And I just feel like I'm kind of wasting a really good dog because he listens well. But anyway, That's my bad. But you can't beat a GSP for pheasants.
I'm all for meeting in the middle and hunting birds.
Yeah, we'll have to. I have some really good areas for Eastern Washington for pheasant, man. I know some killer spots.
Keep that locked tight.
I said Western Oregon wrong. Sorry about that. I think I accidentally said Eastern Washington.
Yeah.
Well, brother, I've kept you a long time tonight. I want to can you go back real quick and kind of give us a basic synopsis? How do people enter this opportunity to win a hunt? What is the hunt? And what does that money go towards?
Okay. So
I know it's a little redundant, but I think it's important we just touch on that again.
It's all good. You go to my website. Actually, if you want to go directly to the fundraiser page, it's www.crazyelkcompany.com/fundraiser.
And guys, that'll be in the show notes. So if everybody listening, I sorry to cut you off, Ross, but that's really important. The show notes are the notes, whatever podcast platform you're listening to, you see all that text right below where you hit play. Those are the show notes. And I just want that perfectly clear. I've been saying show notes for years, and some people don't know, but that link is going to be right there. Sorry to cut you off, Ross. Go ahead.
Yep. And then that'll explain briefly, like, what else you're going to win, all the gun and the knives and all that other stuff. But basically, when you scroll past that, there'll be two shirts. There's a man's shirt and a women's shirt. And then, you just click on it, pay for it. That gives you five chances to win the hunt. And it is a 2-day turkey hunt on private land with Samong Yang. And except for what I have to pay for the cost of the shirt, which is it's like $13-14 a shirt. The rest of that $40 is all going to Sportsman's Alliance.
And are you going to do this again in the future? Like, what's the deadline on this one first?
Oh yeah. The deadline. That's right. That's a good thing. The deadline is the end of this month. So the last day
February 31st. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right.
I'm kidding.
Right.
It's a leap year, so I think it's the 29th.
29th. Yep. February 29th. And then I will announce the winner shortly after that, because I'm going to get together actually that last day of February. I'm actually going over, and Samong and I are gonna shoot a YouTube video and do some fishing, and then we're gonna draw the name of the winner, and then I'll announce it. I think I actually put down on there March 4th, but because that gives me time to
Okay.
get home,
Yeah.
and all that other
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Kind of figure all that out. And I am not opposed, because this is super important. But Ross, in the future, hit me up. Maybe we can work something out where maybe there's that turkey hunt option, and maybe like a second place or a third place winner or whatever. We could do like a 3-day bear hunt out here in North Idaho. I say North Idaho because I hunt bears both in Montana and Idaho, but Idaho allows me to bait, and I can get that bait site really sauced up with some Batum 907 and get the bears coming in like a week before somebody shows up, and I'll go sit with them for 3 days or whatever. And that could be part of it next year. And I think that what would be cool about that, Ross, is like if we did something like that in the future, where this money would go to something specific. And I'm thinking, I love Sportsman's Alliance, but I'm thinking like how do we form something that makes it so that money goes towards specifically litigation against a Washington commission, right? And the reason for that is, okay, they screwed Washington out of the spring bear hunt. Well, now we can do this bear hunt in North Idaho with the winner, and then that money will go towards the Washington Commission and the litigation that needs to happen there, because I think that's where we're at. I'll be honest.
Right.
I think that's where we're at. Like, they flat want to get rid of the North American model. And so I think that litigation is where it's at. It's what they use. So why don't we use that against them? So something we can talk about down the road. Which, by the way, for those of you listening, and Ross, like, I get like hundreds of bears on my bait barrels. So a really good selection. Now, okay,
we'll talk and work something out.
So on this one, for right now, you're going to win a turkey hunt 2 days on private land. I am not going to even try to attempt to pronounce that guy's name. Say it again.
Samong Yang.
Samong Yang. Oh, that's not that bad. Okay. And that money is going to go towards Sportsman's Alliance, who's already taken steps to litigate against like Lorna Smith and other things with the Washington State Commission. It's a great organization, guys. If you go to the link in the show notes here, that'll take you to where you can buy a t-shirt, and the t-shirt gives you 5x entries, right?
Yep.
I like I like that you have like the dude shirt, helping making hunting grading. Holy cow, man! I can't talk now. What? I had like 2 sips of whiskey. What the heck? Oh, okay. Helping make hunting great again, and then you have the female version, which it says the same thing, but it's just a girl shirt, which I should buy my girls one of those. They'd love that. Yeah, winner will be announced March 4th. Hunt will be May 1st, 2nd, 2024. Okay, cool. So everybody knows that. Please go to the site, guys. And we have to, as hunters, if you're listening to this show, it means that A, you love hunting, because that's what we talk about mostly. But B, you're concerned about the future of hunting, because that's the premise of this show. And our one of the biggest focuses on this show is the fight against the anti-hunting organizations and the fundamentalists. Well, do we call them? Should I call them fundamentalists? No, that's not an appropriate word, I don't think.
No, I wouldn't say
fundamental. I've just watched a weird documentary about fundamentalists. So, the fundamental or foundational ideology that is trying to put a stop to this way of life is out there trying to get you. If you're listening to this show, they are trying to get you. They have the money, they have the organization, they have the backing, and they have the motivation to see this thing through. It's time for us to start doing more than just buying deer tags. It's time to start. Don't get me wrong, guys. I love going to the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation banquet and buying my raffle tickets and participating in the auction. It's all fun. But it's time we have to do something else. Like we're beyond that. We have organizations that are out to destroy us. And this is how we do it. Guys like Ross, they've given us an avenue to drive down that'll actually move the needle. And so what else do you have? Do you have anything else to add to that, Ross?
No, Washington has seemed to be where they have wanted to start. They're also working in Colorado. I mean, I'm sure in Oregon, they're trying to pass that stupid I-83 to where killing your own cow on your property is illegal. Yeah. When I was talking to Charles from Howell the other day, he's like, there's works in Arizona and New Mexico. So don't think it's not coming to you. We have to nip this stuff in the bud now so they know they don't have a chance.
Yeah, yeah, that's absolutely right. You just said that. I need to respond to an email specifically from Hal. See how my mind works, dude? I have the worst ADD. You say something, and I'm like, oh man, I forgot about this. So, no, this is great, Ross. I always look up to you, man. I feel like you're like a leader, and you always have your wheels are always turning. Whether it's coming up with something like the tag wallet, or doing something like this, doing the hunt giveaway, the turkey hunt giveaway. I really envy that mentality, and I really respect somebody who takes the time out of their own lives, because you've got a day job, you've got your side jobs, hustle, what all these things that you're doing. You're a family man, you're a hunter, you've got outside hobbies, I'm sure, besides hunting, right? I mean, come on, I see the corrugated metal. Obviously, you do a little bit of, handyman work there. And right. So, I'm always envious of people that like you that actually step up to the plate and do something. And you guys, it's guys like you that make it worthy and worthwhile for like guys like me to talk about and put up on. Not putting you up on a pedestal, but like respecting what you're doing in a way that deserves respect, because there's so many people out there that are just asleep at the wheel and don't do anything, and they bitch about it on the weekends, or they complain on social media. But that's the extent of what they do. And I just appreciate you doing what you do and actually putting your money where your mouth is and putting yourself out there. This stuff is risky, it costs time and money, and it's not easy, and it's not necessarily always fun. So I just, I want you to know I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I'm not really good at compliments or anything like that, but no, I appreciate that a lot.
Now, if we were in person, I'd give you a big hug right in front of everybody.
I'm a hugger. I'm a hugger.
Gosh, I'm like, I think between talking all the power tools over the last few days, I'm like losing my voice. So I got to cut this off. So yeah, man, stick on the line for just a minute, but everybody, again, Ross Sharp, on Instagram. Let me go back to your Instagram here just to make sure it's at Crazy Elk Company, right?
Yep.
Or is it at the Crazy Elk Company? I don't have it pulled up.
Yeah. I think the Instagram is the Crazy Elk Company.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm going to have that in the show notes, guys. Check them out on Instagram. Please buy a t-shirt and support this cause. That is going to be found at the link in the show notes. That's crazyelkcompany.com/fundraiser. And it's $40, $40. That is so worth it. And what'll really get me excited is if I see hunters in like Texas and Colorado and Montana and all these other states spending this money on these t-shirts, because you're going to get a cool t-shirt out of it, but it would really help our friends in Washington as well, because I think that's where a lot of this is kind of focused at. And so I think that's really important that we take care of our friends in Washington. They deserve our help, and you never know when we're going to need them. So Ross, this was a great conversation, man. I appreciate you joining me. I appreciate you I apologize. I was kind of laxy-daisy about the scheduling of getting this going, but
it's all good.
So thanks again for coming on, and let's just let's keep in touch, and we'll talk soon.
Yep. Well, thanks for having me, and have a good night.
You too, man. Thanks.
You made it. That's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure you're following us on Instagram at The Western Huntsman, and write us a good review at Apple Podcasts. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Stay Western, and I'll see you